Hey guys, Steve here, Ponics. Today we're going to talk about
Growing with fishes. Growing with fishes.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Growing with Fishes podcast, episode 354. Sorry, it's been a little minute. We've had been doing some traveling and moving and all kinds of things, so it's taken a minute to get everything sorted and get back into the swing of things, but we'll have normal episodes at least once a week again now. We got Kevin McKernan on next week. This week we got Brendan and Shane talking to us from VPD Pros about VPD and a bunch of other cool grow questions. So if you got any really good grow questions, these guys can answer them, especially lighting and VPD and humidity and temperature. So if you got any questions in that realm, I think you're muted.
Us?
You did
There
it.
you go.
We're not.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, it just didn't pick it up.
Okay. Well, can you hear us now?
Yep. Well, why
Shane's
don't
right
you,
here. That's Shane, right? That him.
It's me.
Him. Yeah.
why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
So my name is Shane Keener. I'm a mechanical engineer of 12 years in professional industry, and then I switched over to weed. So I guess I'm a weed industry engineer.
You're a weed engineer.
Yeah. And so I've been doing VPD now, studying VPD for the last 4 years, and here I am. I've got my company today, and I'm ready to go to market. So this is my partner.
I'm Brendan. I've been in the weed game for a half century. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm older than Santa Claus's dad. Lighting, growing, procedures, SOPs, establishing the best way to do stuff. It's kind of an obsession. And this guy's has the same level of engineering OCD as me. So the two of us together is a pretty dangerous combo. We analyze and solve technical problems for grow facilities, whatever it is, whether getting your machines to be more accurate, getting better readings to your plants, environmental conditions. But with VPD Pro, Vapor Pressure Deficit Pro, we got our machines which will dial in your rooms. So you can see your plants perking up within an hour, and within a day, it's bang, full pressure, lays up, high five in the room the way it's got to be. We analyzed everyone else's equipment, and we found it was really lacking and just not made for what most people are using their grow rooms for.
For example, I mean, I'm not going to mention any names, but I haven't found one piece of equipment yet that is accurate to anything that it says it is.
Do you want to tell them how far off they are?
Yeah, go ahead. Please.
I mean, we analyzed some of the biggest names in the business. We'll leave them out, whether it's a dehumidifier, humidifier, or just sensors on the wall, which would trigger those devices. And we found the largest commercial brands were off by 8 to 12% either way. So if you think it says 65%, it could be 77 or 53. So, and if you don't have accurate readings in your room, you can't truly dial it in. Our stuff's accurate to within 1%.
Some of the sensors that we found on some of the equipment were located inside the panels, inside the wall. It's not really accurate to.
They weren't even where they're supposed to be. Like, how could you take a reading in a room with a sensor in the back end of a control panel in a wall box?
For lack of that,
Yeah.
some of this equipment stops at like 70% humidity.
It stopped at 60 because it was
Depends
made
on what brand you
Yeah.
find, but you'll find that they all the best ranges I've found in humidity, none of the equipment seems to let you go there, which I think is really controversial because it makes me think of who was the inventor of this and what are they trying to keep you from,
No, it wasn't meant for that use. It's just repurposed from commercial office parks and or other uses. It was never made for what we do when we're growing.
And nothing ever that I've used in the last 4 years of trying to get perfect VPD has ever worked. And I mean, I've used every single system out there, stuff that I didn't even know, stuff that I've created myself from what they had to make it better.
Yeah.
And you're never going to find anything that keeps it steady. But what we have done is we've taken control of the things that are necessary for your environment. So our our humidifiers not only humidify the room and they stop at whatever set point that I set them at.
Something else we did that we actually made a relay with a sensor that we can actually take other people's gear that was it's basically a dumb thing. Am I on or am I off? But they're being triggered by inaccurate sensors. We connect them to our device and make them accurate to 1%. So suddenly that dehue comes on when you want it to come on. It's not fighting with your humidifier and getting things out of balance all the time. And you can really even the room out by having it set and that level of granular activity to really get that fine line. In fact, when we get to sharing stuff, I want you to bring, if you, you can show proof of rooms and curves of plants curing and plants developing. It's a flat, perfect line balance.
And VPD has taken a dramatic turn now that we can control the rooms plus or minus one. Used to, when I was general manager of Territory Cannabis in Ada, Oklahoma, we would have problems with the dehumidifiers. You know, I'd set that at like 70, and then I would put my humidifier, I would put it on 65 or 70 itself, and then you'd find out that my humidifier reading accurate would say like that it turns off at the set point, and then but I'm listening to the dehum and it's coming on way too early, and there's that space of where they're fighting, diminishing returns, and it costs you more power. I'm really good at saving power at these locations, so we've cut a lot of power and what
tell
we're
me
using.
what you did at Trio with the Trio's electric bill. You cut it more than half, and they got better weed now.
Yeah, it was like it was pretty expensive. It was like $12,000
change, and it's down to 5 and
it's
change
like
now.
five something now. So
with more plants.
So we went through like a 180, 190 plants to like 305, 320, and we've been able to pull back the air conditioners. Yeah. So I'm running our rooms right now. It says on the wall that it's like 83, 84. I set it on 82, but in the hot part of the day, the roof will get a little hot and then the room will rise in temperature. And I'm running my humidity at some very high levels in there, as much as 78% for most flower rooms. And I'm seeing accurately, people are really scared of humidity. They think, oh my gosh, the first thing they think is mold because they've got a pest that fell on mold. Let me tell you something. I dry with humidity, guys. I never let that room go below 60.
The 60-60 rule, we call it, and we let the plants come in and they just naturally off gas down, and we hold them there and they cure faster and more flavor.
Yeah, and so most people ask me, how long is your cure range? My cure range is about 21 days, but that's to properly do it. But to be honest with you, in smoking it through its process, I'm hitting like day 11 or 12 where it's like so awesome that just a few more days is going to be there. We could recreate the perfect bell curve. So I have videos of this and some pictures that I'll bring up in just a second on this, but when we're drying in the humidity, we keep that level at 60%. And then most people, I always go to their dry rooms and they always have a dehumidifier, right? So what they're doing is my humidifier is set on 60%, and then the weed comes in as it's being cut, and my sensors are reading the room, and it comes in at like 75, 78% humidity. That's the highest it ever goes, guys. Why are we putting a dehumidifier in there to cut it down to that level? When you kill something off too fast there, that plant is still alive. And when you have humidity in the room, it's keeping it almost in a sustained stasis. We're basically mummifying this weed and it doesn't shrink.
The proper term is we're prolonging senescence. So in other words, we're allowing it to die a graceful death, not a shock. And if you dry too fast, you shock. And when you shock a plant curing it, you lose all kinds of the good stuff you want, the terpenes, the flavonoid alkaloids, more importantly, you lose THC.
And I can prove that in our dry rooms, because you can go in there and you can smell a bag of weed and you'd be like, my gosh, this is the smelly stuff. And then you take it for 5 minutes out of my room and it just starts unloading with smell and terpenes.
A lot of nose.
And also that on the drying process, I invite anybody here in the state of Oklahoma to give me a call or send me a message. And it's Slim Shaney, Slim_Shaney 2022. You can hit me up on there and I'll give you a tour of what VPD is, because when you walk into a room, it is a different environment. It's a totally different thing.
Even your nose, like when you walk in and the plants have the right thing. And the thing is, other humidifiers, they're spitting and vomiting big droplets and it's wet everywhere because they're not made properly. They put moisture in the air, but they're launching droplets. They're not launching vapor. We're putting fine vapor. When the vapor comes out, and we'll show you that, but when it's 2 feet away from the thing, you could hold your hand there and your hand will not get wet.
So when we're getting these rooms up, for instance, one of my favorite things to do is show people how to get roots in 6 to 7 days. And I can do that without domes on any cloners. So I would use root riot cubes. I would put my room about 85% humidity. And with our humidifiers, nothing's going to get wet. It's going to be dry walls. It's just the air is going to be there. Just like he was saying, you can put your hand in front of it. It won't get wet, but you can feel the air, and you pull it up and it's just instantly gone. I have my humidifier blowing literally on plants in the room, and it does not leave droplets, water, the scary things that you have to think about. But here's what you need to understand about VPD Pro and what we do that other people don't. We keep our ranges so clean throughout the whole facility, such a tight level that I'm able to actually see the plants respirating and breathing for the first time because I hold such a tight tolerance.
You can check on their chart and you could say what time they exhaled.
I can tell now when plants exhale according to the light, which data I've never seen before. You know, I've got an air conditioner room, which is a dehumidifier. I've got a dehumidifier in every application I've been on. We got lights, and all those things are taking moisture out of the room. And if you have to think about it, when my humidifier is not there, the equipment could be taking that moisture out instead of your plant's moisture, because that's why they're hanging so low. You're always like, oh, they're so cute, they're sleeping.
They never get up because they can't. They don't have the trigger pressure in their system, so the air's out of balance.
My plants don't change position. They are this.
Lights come on, they wake up and they stay up.
Yeah, it changes like this, but it does not ever do this or this. In fact, it's such a dramatic change. You can see the results.
You were supposed to ask Steve a question right then before he exhaled.
Oh,
you would have got a good one there.
Was that good?
I was just gonna say, why don't you explain to people a little bit more about like what VPD is?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vapor pressure deficit is what VPD stands for. It's not Venice Police Department, but it's vapor pressure deficit. And the warmer the air, the more moisture it can hold in balance. So if you're growing under HPS, you think your room is at 76 degrees or 73 degrees, depending on, the old school growers would be at 73. You can't change that. And they'd be at 40 or 50% humidity. And they'd be terrified of getting the humidity up because in their minds, that's where you get mold. That's where you get mildew. The problem is you got to go off your leaf surface temperature. And when I would go to some of these older growers and I would say, where are your best buds, your favorite buds in any room? And I would take my laser thermometer and go, and what's your setting room? My room's 73 degrees. And this, I go, really? I take the thermometer's best bud, and a lot of them were 78. And on the edge of the room, in the middle of the room, it was 85, 88, 89 degrees as far as the plant was concerned. And his leaves were like this, crawling down and burned tips because they're drying out. When you get the vapor pressure balance right, and here's the irony, the extreme infrared of the HPS bulbs is burning your plant. When you get the vapor pressure deficit up, it actually helps offset that and gets the plant to relax and grow more and actually cools it, despite the fact that it's getting way too much infrared from the bulb. If you're growing under LED, you can flat out get your canopy 85 degrees, get the humidity up to 75, 78, even, depending which stage of growth you're at and how early, and it just goes and goes. And you can touch your walls, they'll be dry. There won't be puddles on the floor. The plants will be awake because the pressure of the moisture in the air is balanced. I know it sounds silly, but if you understand it, if you've ever been to Jamaica or any of those, cool tropical places, you see weed growing there, it is not 73 degrees and 45% humidity. It is like 85 degrees and like 80% humidity. And those plants are going, raw, just blasting.
And another point to add to that would be, this plant is being fed every day, which is like a jungle-like condition, but it doesn't feel the atmosphere does not feel like the conditions of the jungle. It feels more like New Mexico or Arizona. These places every place that I've been to has a dehumidifier. Every place I've been to, barely, there's just a few that's contacted me right off the bat and knows what VPD and what it's done for them. And they're hitting at 15 to 20% the levels that I am. And I have some proof on here to show you guys what happens within 24 to 48 hours after putting this machine into your grow. But I would like to say one more thing about this before I leave. The one thing about VPD Pro when you're worried about mold is that we were the fix for that. See, when I was GM at Territory Cannabis, we had 780 plants per room. We did roughly around 7 harvests during the time that I was there, and we calculated less than 3 pounds of mold weight for the entirety of all those harvests. And let me tell you why that is because when you I really like to say people, they're reading their meters at nighttime or in the daytime, but they don't read that stuff at nighttime because they're not there. But my meters are always there and they're always connected to your phones. So I can control my humidifiers and the dehumidifiers via this right here from my home. And I can set anything that I want to. And I also know when emergency things are taking place. And so
Get
that
alerts, yeah.
that what that does is that keeps you from having problems. For instance, the accuracy of the dehumidifier is so off that by the time it actually clicks on, it takes a few minutes for that thing to actually start running. So by the time it's chopping off the top end, it's already made it up into the 95 to 99%.
Lights
And
out.
on lights out,
Yeah.
you're spraying that when you have 99% moisture that night, you're spraying for those things that you're actually creating, because the next morning when those lights come on and it goes from that that humidity to a hot, really, really dry environment, those are spikes, and that's what causes mold. But how can you cause mold
shock,
when
yeah.
you're in the middle lane of everything? Also flow is very important with humidity anytime you use it, and I can show you some ways to do that.
It's a whole
That's a
separate
whole
discussion,
separate
but
entity,
yeah,
yep.
airflow is a
Well,
big
no,
difference.
you guys have some cool videos. Do you want to share some stuff?
Yeah, go ahead. Hit me up there.
I'm gonna give the shared Norman and Shane's gonna impress me by taking the wheel. Can you see that? Those are plants that were grown without any humidity.
So this is at one of the places I'm consulting for, and this room was not VPD'd. We had transplanted them. You can see over on the left-hand side, the babies over there. These other plants had been in there for roughly around about a week. And then you can see we got the others in there. We were kind of offset and trying to fill a room there to full capacity. And so you can see, look, I would like you to notice the 5 plants up here in the front, especially those, and then on into the back. This was taken after I had watered. So you can see the dirt down there. It's not like dry or anything like that. They've got plenty of water. And then let's go to the next slide. This is 48 hours.
That's you not on the slide.
just a second.
You're zooming in.
Uh-oh.
Hang on a second, I can't see a damn thing. You gotta.
Yeah, I got you. Hold on just a second. So there we go. So this is 48 hours after that. Brandon's computer
Freezing? That's weird. There you go.
There we go.
Same plants standing
These
up
are the
there.
same plants. You'll notice over here to the left-hand side, me and Brendan was trying out one of our mini models to see how well it does in the room, but I was just blown away. We're still 15% from the moisture content level that I would actually prefer for the room. And it's just based on how many lights, and that's why we sell different sizes, because each one of them are going to fit a different application.
Different volume of space.
This one that you see here is actually going to be our curing machine. This will pretty much do any cure room. Remember, we're not rehydrating the humidity here. We're just not letting it drop below a certain level, which is basically as bad as you running your weed outside the car at 70 degrees. So I took this picture. This is nothing more than just inside the room of, humidity in there. This is a VPD room right here. So you can see that it's blowing right on the plants, blowing across them. It don't matter, but you can tell that every plant in there is straight up high praying to the ceiling. Here's an actual video, so I'll just play this for a second.
Yes,
So this is the only room that's VPD'd right
so-
now.
Yeah.
And
This guy wanted to see with his own eyes and believe it. And after 2 days, he was like, get me more of these things.
yeah, so now we're doing all his rooms. See, I dropped the phone right down in here in the mist, and I'm still filming. It ain't got nothing on the lens. I'll even put my hand up to it in just a second. I'm not doing anything special to this room. They have a grower on site. He's doing that. I'm just there to
Fixing the
help
climate.
fixing the climate and helping out. So this is just regular activity. Now I will tell you that I've got a couple of letters of recommendation. Snick from Trio Farms, this is where this is at. He's wrote me a letter of recommendation. He actually took the CO2 out of his place, been running that for 4 years, and said that, let's see, you can see right there on the leaf, I just blew all that humidity on there and there's no
moisture,
drops.
no droplets.
See, here's my hand. I put it up to it. See, this can go right inside your air conditioner and it don't matter. The reason why is your air conditioner is made to handle that kind of moisture. If it's not supposed to be in a grow. I don't know why you'd put that in a grow.
That's crazy. But yeah, you go next. There's the arrow. Yeah,
Sorry about that.
no worries.
So here's another video of me just pulling some demonstration stuff so I could show you guys like what I'm talking about,
Even blasting them at short range. Look, there's no droplets on the plants. You saw that. They just got nuked with what looks like they're being blasted, and they're fine. They're just waking up.
But you see the height on that. Let's see. There is a non-VPD room, and this room is 2 weeks the elder of that other room that
Yeah.
you just saw in VPD. So this room is the farthest room from that. That little room that I showed you with the small plants, it's the in-between room. It's actually over here through this wall. And then the VPD room is on the other side of that to your right. So you can see everything's kind of fallen. We have trellis up and we've tried to keep them up on there, but it's just been really
They keep falling
difficult.
over,
They're
yeah.
just very lanky and weak.
Go back to that one. Yeah, I want to see, because we walked in there, zoom in over here. And I was like, what the hell? See, the plants are just, they can't even hold themselves up because the pressure is so wrong in the room that they're just deflated balloons. They don't have any turgor pressure inside. Their xylem and phloem aren't really cranked up.
You can also tell a major color difference between a VPD room.
Yeah.
It's dark green and you get
leaves,
this
yeah.
light teal looking green in a non-VPD room. There's nothing wrong, but if you looked at the flowers and you were at the facility, you would, even the owner and all the employees say that all the buds that are in the VPD room are way bigger than that of the ones in here. They also smell better.
I call the bud slap test, where I'll slap the branch,
Yeah.
and like this one will just go like a limp biscuit, just fall over like it's crying. And if you squeeze one of those buds, like you could pretty much damn near touch your fingers together. But you go to the VPD room, you slap the plant and it snaps right back like, what, motherfucker? And if you squeeze the bud, you feel density. Like that makes them denser.
Yeah, let's go back to that VPD room so you can just see the difference.
This is 2 weeks behind the room you just saw.
It's 2 weeks.
And it looks like it's 2 weeks ahead of it.
And and this room right here is just started in flower. So if you guys will keep up with our Instagram, like I said, this
Can you
is
find the graphs from the readouts?
yeah. So
I think you just need to close it and go down the bottom row. Yeah, up there.
maybe.
Yeah. Scroll. Sorry about that, guys, but
How do you get your things up and down?
scroll down. Oh, apparently I saw it uploaded. Well, anyway, we'll turn the share off for now because you find it and get back in there. But sorry, we were uploading things in real time and he was playing with his phone, charging it. The idea being, any room we walk into, we could probably find something to help you improve it with what you have. But something like VPD, which is so critical to get plants to really push themselves and grow, we're not sharing. So if you're
Yeah, no, go
okay,
ahead.
well, I should
Keep
make sure.
talking.
Right. But what to really make your plants grow and accelerate, we can add a cycle per year per room. Because we can take your cycle, let's say you have a 9-week strain, we'll make it a 7.5-week strain. And then a week and a half each lap around the track, you got another full cycle in there. And accelerate rooting from clones. We have rooted clones in 7 days.
And that's just basically because, you know, the whole intention of, by the way, Steve, I actually got it working now, so I can actually share some more. I just had to update.
No, that's the wrong one. You gotta,
Yeah, go ahead.
here we
I'm
go.
gonna show you some more.
Oh, sorry about that. Just fighting with a computer. He's not
So we
familiar
don't
with.
actually use domes in our clone room, and the whole purpose of a dome is just to bring up the humidity so that the clone
That
itself
one?
can root.
Yeah.
And we do that without the dome, so we can just, you know, pretty much. Let me show you some VPD flower really fast. So this is some of the stuff that I'm producing under VPD. I know a lot of people try to do like, you know, cold temps for colors, but you know, you tell me.
Yeah. That makes me hungry. Yeah.
There's this
That was
is
an earlier generation prototype. Yeah.
yeah, so this is my second gen, and you can see the room behind it. I had 2 of these and 1,000 square feet, and we were plus or minus 1. You know, it's a rudimentary design, but it's what they wanted to do. You can see the rooms that we had them in.
Really high
Look at
ceiling,
those
yeah.
colors in there. There's part of one of the bedrooms, you know. This is you can kind of see that there's a blue haze in there to that, and that's VPD. It definitely feels way more cooler than it actually is. So I had a, you know, right here, look, we're at 80 and 76%, you know, in the rooms. And that's when I was trying to see this. Look at that.
Just look at the plants. I mean, that's all you know. Those are happy plants.
Oh, look at there. There's my first gen, the
Mhm.
ones I started off with, and
Yep,
then
yep.
the second gen, and then now we're at third gen today. But, you know, you'll never appreciate humidity until you get it at home. I've designed a unit for the home grower that's
Mhm.
small so that you can run perfect VPD in your tents. And I once grew some of the most magnificent plants with just keeping VPD and water and no nutrients through the whole
Hold on a
thing.
second. Where's that little guy at?
Huh? It's out on the front porch.
So why don't we do this? Let's get the phone and I'll see if I can get my phone on.
Yeah. I'll go walk you through some more deals. Actually, here's the death of a plant, Steve. So I want you to notice something, the VPD relationship. So you see the relative humidity down here. By the way, can you see my scroller, my mouse, Steve?
There you go. That's better. Yeah, we can.
Okay. So if you notice this relationship, this peak of where the temperature is going up every day, and it shoots this humidity down because the air gets drier, right? If it wasn't for that, do you see that perfect curve right there? When they brung in, this is the death of a plant actually. So their hot maximum room temp, it gets up to 71.4 during the day and 60.6, you know, and you can tell it's in the relationship of the night. Now I've nearly fixed this problem for them. And if we can get the temperature, you know, more steady, then the VPD will lock. But you can see the relationship here. And this part on Wednesday to Thursday is when they cut the flowers and they hung them in my dry room, and they started to die. And I know I don't use any dehumidifiers. Look at my high. My high was 73.9% humidity, and my low here was 56.9 a couple times just due to some heat issues. But that is the perfect death of a plant. And then you can see my humidifier bringing it back to the level it's supposed to be. And then it stays out from there. So let me show you a couple more examples here.
Hey, Steve,
Yeah.
I'm trying to join from my phone. If you can let me in, then
Oh,
I'll show you
sorry.
some cool stuff.
There you go.
All right.
So this is something that I see a lot of, you know. Look at that. That's terrible, guys. We don't want none of that. And if you look at this room, it's like super hazy, you know, and look at all that water. Can't have any of that. That is where you get mold from, and that's what everybody's worried about.
Hey Shane, can you hear me in there?
I can.
So how about I share from where I'm at?
Okay. You want to do
Yeah,
this new style?
right.
Live on location. Hit me.
See if I can get this thing to work here. Screen, here we go. Start. My God, this thing is going to fight me all day. It's crazy. Come on. Zoom.
Pulling clouds.
Yep. Here's us right here with the minis and then the standard units. The two to the right there, those will actually cover 1,000 square feet. And then we have the mini, which you see there, and then we have the micro, which is for the home grower, and that will do pretty much any space. I mean, pretty large areas. And then we got Pacer back there in the background. He is our programmer, and we have some new tech coming to market that will attach to these that will do more things than you ever dreamed of that we can't do currently out in the field right now. So this is one of my clone rooms over at Yummy, and they're under full VPD. Look at those high leaves. Look at this. Now notice that it's 85% humidity in there right now. There ain't no clouds, no nothing. It's just one little room, and they're happy as can be.
It's not coming through from my side. You can't see my, it says I'm sharing, but it's not coming through. So I'm going to, do you see what I see?
It
No.
says your camera's not on. Maybe
It most definitely is. So
mute.
right again.
I'll
There you go.
stop
Now
sharing
it's
for a second.
It's just, it's trying to turn it around. Here we go. Come on, you best.
working now.
That's what I want to tell you about.
There you go.
Okay, so and then this
I'm
is on
coming out
low.
there.
So let's come and blast the neighborhood now. So I'm going to crank them up just halfway. I won't even go full hog on them, but you'll see that this is the standard model, and I mean,
Hold on.
Shane,
Hold
get up.
on. I gotta stop sharing from your.
Oh, Shane, you got to stop sharing from my desktop. I can go do that. You
So
got it,
where
Steve, or
do it?
turn the share off. Stop sharing my desktop. Sorry about that, Steve. I thought he did that.
No, it's all
Hey,
good.
it'll be done in a second. Obviously, we just turned some lights on. So, Oklahoma's summer night, we got huge bugs flying on my face, but you get an idea of what kind of cloud machines we have.
There we go.
You see it okay?
No, hold on. I try doing it. It says, oh, it says they're still in screen share mode. I don't understand.
Well, maybe it's my name twice. I'm Brendan. So
No,
it says I'm sharing and I see the video, but you don't see it.
it's not coming through on the stream. I mean, it is, but it's tiny. I'm trying to fix that.
All right.
To that one. Second. This is weird. I've never had this issue before.
Looks like Brendan turned his sound off.
No, he muted me.
No, it says started screen sharing. It's still screen sharing.
Well, I'll stop screen sharing right now. Right.
Oh, there you go.
Now it's working.
Okay. So that's weird. It had both, but anyway, can you see the two devices cranking out clouds?
There we go. Now you're full screen.
Okay. Now we'll do a live with Shane playing and Fog. One of my favorite things to do in this is I can put my eyes in front of it. Yeah, hands are dry. Do it again. And now see, here's the thing about vapor, right? Yeah, get a little moisture, but if your hands are 2 feet away from that, it's already much cooler and it's already dissipating. And if you look up, it trails off and it dissipates. So if you're in a big grow room, this thing would go on, it blasts like this until I got the room up to the level, then it would shut off. And that's the beauty of it. So it doesn't run like this all the time.
This have 2 different settings, which you can do. So you can pull these down, you know, and kind of get that shot stage performance.
Right.
And it will hit the ground and it will start exploding.
And if you put a colored light inside and do it, you can get that Halloween hellfire look if you're getting carried away. But more importantly, you can dial it into the room size you have, the volume of space you have. A neighbor's just driving by, stopped. He's like, "What the hell is that?" But
Here we go, neighborhood.
yeah, but see, if you crank it up like that, you know, it'll blast. So for commercial facilities, this is a standard unit, not even the XL, and it blasts. But you can have your eyes open in that, and it won't even get you. See, watch. Go ahead. There's no stunt work to do here. It is that simple. But I can walk through it with my phone. Walk through with my phone, and there's shit. But yeah, my phone's dry. So I just blasted everything there, went through it. Not a droplet on my lens, not a droplet on my screen. That's what proper water vapor is.
And another thing is our units, they are self-filling so that you do not have to connect them up. I noticed everybody, there was several people I went to that had one job a day, and their day was to go around and fill up 8 humidifiers with 2 little gallon ports. No, it doesn't work that way. It self-fills and it self-cleans. We also have filters coming in.
We put inline water filters so that everything coming in is clean already. And the fan never turns off, so nothing can get in it to start negative.
Yeah, I mean, you see how much air is coming out here. It's literally impossible for a bug to go down the tunnel to get anything. And then we have air filters that are washable and reusable so that you can clean them out really easy between rows. But the only thing that this thing is going to do in your growth facility is collect dust. So, you know, we want to wipe all that stuff off. But all the moisture is kept inside, and it won't get underneath your plants and neither the equipment. So it's really important to have no leaks. And also, we're kind of releasing something here today as well. Let you be the first to look at it. This is called the
micro.
The micro. And pretty simple little gadget. You can have this inside your little tent at home. Plug it up.
Okay.
This unit right here will cover any 10 by 10, 10 by 20.
Easy.
It would probably do most secure rooms, for instance. Now, we make this to where we can ship it. The height of this nozzle keeps from any of the leakages coming out. This one also self-fills, self-cleans, so you can't get anything inside of it. Self-fillable washer. You can take this thing apart, fold it up inside each other. It's portable. We'll ship it to you in a box the same fashion. All these kind of break down and go up inside, so it's nice and compact when it comes to your house. But this is all you need because you don't need to worry about anything else. The unit will automatically cut itself off if it reaches temperature. Let's say, you know,
temperature, or if the water level gets low, somebody turned the water off by mistake, it'll just shut itself off.
See, right now it looks like nothing's coming out of it, but the air is still pumping through that. You know, you can kind of actually see it right here. And so that keeps our unit clean so that we don't have to worry about bugs and gunk and all that other thing. And then also we have the mini unit, which is the in-between size from this. And that one does most of our cure rooms and stuff. So
you grab it.
We'll try to leave this right here.
But
this right here is
intermediate size between. We're not going to fire it up. You get the idea. But we have
this one's for larger rooms than that. And then most of our operations will be run with
fire up the big one. Really gas out the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, if we didn't bring an XL out because that would literally do the whole neighborhood. But even these guys here, I mean, if you just turn, one down, but you'll see like, and then crank one, like get that guy just off now, crank the other one full blast.
This one's full blast?
Yeah. But see, watch the way the vapor just disappears 20 feet away. So it just disappears into the air. It goes up and just, so in your grow room, the volume of space is just shooting out there and just vanishing and balancing in the air. And you walk around the room, it'll be literally the same. You'll feel the same. It's the same everywhere. It's got slammed into it by some kind of flying thing.
I know on it like really low speed.
Right. Right. So this, if you need to blast a bigger room, you can. If you need less vapor, you know, it's either way you want to do it. Yeah. Or we can go to the gun show and just blast everybody.
And I know it looks a little bit like you're putting a lot of water in, but what you don't realize is this is actually milliliters of water coming out.
Yeah, I know.
Now. It's very small amount. It takes a lot of this to make any difference. But we put a lot of smaller particles in the room so that we quickly get up to the VPD we want. Reason being, you open the door to your grow room, you walk inside, and barometric pressure drops like crazy. And once it does, all the moisture starts pouring out through
the opening.
It almost feels like you're walking into an airlock when you walk into a VPD room because there's just pressure on it. You'll open it up, it will start coming at you, and then when you close the door, it's that little gap. It takes just seconds to build up.
It'll kick this thing back on, and it'll bring the balance back up right away.
You're in there spraying, and your room's getting up to higher humidity. The minute it goes 1% past my set point, it immediately kicks on the dehumidifier and starts pulling that down.
It turns this guy off and turns the dehu on.
That's correct. They never work in tandem. They never work together. They're always in tandem and stop at each set point. So you can set our units at ±1 or ±10. It's up to you. But high humidity is the key, guys. It's the next biggest thing in cannabis because nobody's doing it. That's the greatest thing about it.
It's crazy, the difference. Huge difference. Anyway, we can
have some more pictures.
Yeah, so turn these guys off. We'll go back in, and then we can probably hear people and see if there's any other questions. Cool. Following you, Shane. You're the. Okay, so he'll take over there. Right. You back in, Steve? All right.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go.
Oh, you gotta turn your video back on.
Yeah, I see. I got it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, share screen. I did share screen, but I was gonna get to. Come on.
There it goes.
That one, yeah.
So I'll just kind of walk you through a couple of places. Some of these photos just updated shortly ago, but so did you get to see the actual clones? Was that coming through just a little bit ago?
That looks good.
So, all the leaves are really, really high in these. We're running 85% in that room.
No domes.
He was on he'll tell you like a 42% success rate on clones, and he went to 99 to 100% and 7 days on roots. So there's still room for improvement because I've seen it in my VPD conditions in 6.
Mm.
And they really, really make a lot of roots during that time. So here's a facility, whether you agree with their trimming process or not. This room was just VPD'd from this. So this is like my before. This has just been running for, I'd say, about 3 hours, and you can already see the leaves that they're on top. They're already holding high. This room had no VPD in it. You can see. I can't wait to get pictures from Naeem on this room right now. He said it's absolutely going crazy. I'm planning on going over there and getting the secondary photos to these. But you can see our unit.
That was the day we installed it, so it was
yeah, this is an install day. There's Naeem and Jake, the grower and assistant grower for Yummy Flowers, Yummy Flower Company. Check them out on Instagram at Yummy Flower Company. You can watch them grow. They have all of our units decked out in BPD.
Yeah, it was the same thing. They start with one, and when they saw they did, like, you have to do everything else. Get it in there.
I have to get my daughter in here. She's holding the BPD Mini.
That's the desktop display model.
Or the micro, I mean.
Yeah, the micro display model. It's even smaller.
Yeah, so we were doing some stuff to put on there. Look at this room. This is another BPD room. And everybody wants to know, what's the flower look like? Look at the crystal production. And the craziest thing is this batch right here was the best batch they had ever created in 4 years. We went from 36% AB size buds to 92%. And I only ran that machine in there for about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, they were filling the cutout bin heavy before you got there.
Yeah, it was a massive difference in size production. That's some more VPD bud right there. There's some more VPD bud. Look at the trichomes. You can go. That's why I want you to come to my facility.
Zoom in on that. Zoom in on that.
Yeah, yeah.
The picture
Come to
of
my
that.
facility and look at the stuff, and then you
Keep
tell
going.
me.
Zoom. Get in there. Look at that. That was my silly word back in the day. I said that's tricholiciousness right there.
Tricholiciousness.
Yeah.
Some of this is territory flower. Credit goes to them at Territory Cannabis.
Following
company.
VPD.
But yeah, they got VPD in there. When I was the GM there, I was wanting to implement some more technology, and I set it up for them, and it done really good. I mean, look at that. And all of the cover crops, look at the cover crops, man. We're really talking about it benefiting more things here than what you're just growing. This is my wife. She's holding some VPD flower. Look at the colors on that.
And she's not 2 feet tall. She's a normal size adult. Except he's, oh, she's really small. The buds look big. No, those are big buds in a normal sized person's hands.
Look at these colors.
Yeah. Zoom in on that, man. You can't just go past that. You got to get in on that baby.
Real
Keep going.
nice.
Keep going. See? Look at that. But more importantly, if you get really in there, I want to point something out. The trichomes. Not just the quantity. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
That's as far as they'll let me go.
All right. Well, you see the attentiveness of the trichomes? Because that's one of the things you'll see with plants that have proper VPD. The trichomes are alert, still standing up. And even when you cure them, whereas they don't look burned and deformed, which they can happen under HBS.
And also, the density of the VPD nugs, anybody who drives with my humidifier will tell you, and I was going to have Naeem over here tonight for a special guest. He was kind of working out late. So he's not able to be here with me, but he would tell you straight up that the VPD dried flower, which is 60 and 60, and when it's perfect like that and you let it die on its own, does not shrink. And also, my VPD bud sells for more than your regular bud because you would have to have lots of bags. I would have one dense buds of bags, and not just because of the size. It's actually that they retain a little of their weight and size. It's very important without affecting flavor.
With the weight and
guys.
density, because like you could feel, like you drop one of those nugs in your hand, you're like, whoa. It's not like some airy little thing that looks okay until you touch it.
See those colors on the main veins? Credit goes to Stinky Jeans, the grower here of Territory Cannabis. You can look him up. Amazing, amazing grower. We were using all organics here at Territory Cannabis. This is at Yummy Flowers. Me installed my first gen there. Let's take a walk in a VPD room.
That's pretty close to chop there, right?
Yeah. It's my wife. Look at that room. This it would change colors like it was in the fall, you don't have to run high humidity the entire time. For you guys that know, like, there is humidity in your rooms. It's just presented later in the growing process, and that's not as important when it was young. It's kind of like a hospital, when you go in there and have a baby or something. Those NICUs are.
You grow in the bad conditions, you're not going to be a healthy person. You want the strong plant, you have to give it the right conditions.
Look at that.
Yeah.
This is a picture by John.
That's the kind of trichomes that that's drool worthy. Right
John
there.
Newcomb would have sent me that picture. So this is when I first got the Yummy Flowers, and I put that unit in. You can see in the back, like, they were good plants and stuff. They just didn't have. They had a lot of
when you're mid-flower, you're trying to catch up for lost time.
Yeah, they had a lot of purple stem issues, and then. When we put the VPD machines in, they went Kermit the Frog green. There's some VPD flower from the Territory Cannabis. Here's some more VPD flower in the room. This is a strain called Gold Cash Gold.
Well, obviously they see they can do it. Out of curiosity, Steve, anyone have any questions, or do you have any other
Yeah.
thing you want to ask us? Because we'll babble all day. We like this thing.
So do you use RO water? That's one of the questions.
We do.
Depending on the facility, we put an inline water filter, a carbon filter, a big one, so that we could take city water if we had to. But obviously, we could use RO and still filter it to make sure nothing silly gets through. And we find that it vaporizes really, really quickly and easily. Just kind of
Check out this, bro. This is 7 days worth of humidity graph. Plus or minus 1.
look at that. Looks like a flatline patient.
This is not a small room, guys. This is a pretty big room.
It's like what, close to 1,000 square feet, that one, right?
This one's not quite 1,000.
It's close. I said
It's close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see,
I have to get
that's
back to
what
a
you
measurement
want
of
to
it.
see. You don't want to see your room with spikes up, down, looking like it's having a heart attack. You want that flat line. That means it's staying stable. Plants in stable conditions behave and act the best and grow the fastest.
Right.
Once they know the conditions are right, they just rock. I think you hit the end of the line.
I think I hit the end of the line there.
Yeah.
But, if you look at here, these little waves, that's somebody opening up a door at some point in time. These are hours here, guys. This has never been done before for any piece of equipment that I've ever used.
Well, anything you've monitored, anywhere you've monitored, it looks like you're watching a heart patient with stuff going up and down, because the machines are fighting, or they're dueling with each other, or they're not working properly, or they kick in too late. The way we set it up is
By the way, there's yummy flowers.
And look, if you go back, you show where they open the door, you can actually see it.
Yeah, up in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see like a little hump, and that's the importance of us controlling the dehumidifier, because we're better at it than other systems. Especially with the new systems that we're coming out with, there's going to be lots of things that you're going to be able to control with our systems,
We're working to make a complete facility controller that's much more accurate, because that's the biggest problem we're finding with people's systems. They're not accurate, and they put their sensors in the wrong locations. So, yeah, there's all the different sizes there you can go through, but
I was just making sure I wasn't.
you hit all the
I pretty much hit everything
Yeah.
there. So that's all the pictures I got to show.
Stop the share there and then go back to Steve. And what else you got, Steve?
Let's see. Is there a way to stop pre-flower in spring?
Oh,
Are you trying to extend veg, you mean?
Yeah, you just go on Amazon, you get you some little porch lights, low wattage, and if you
If
run
it's outdoor or it's indoor.
it's outdoor,
if it's indoors, just keep it to 18 hours, for veg. I mean, that if you're going outdoor, that sounds like pre-flower, but if you're doing outdoor, the Shane route, just put some lights over them. Yeah.
I actually keep this is actually something cool. So when I'm doing my humidifier testings, I've got a bunch of 10x10s, and I'm building a front porch right now to do a bunch more experiments with for VPD. But right now, like, I'm having the hardest time I've ever had growing, and I shouldn't be having problems at this point, but I once had a VPD machine in my own house, and then I've used so much stuff of cannibalizing everything that I have. I've taken my own stuff out, and I've tried to grow in my own tent without humidity, and it's been the hardest I've ever grown in my entire life.
You got so used to having the proper conditions. Now you don't have it just as a test. You're like, this is impossible. It's so
I've been on
hard.
VPD since the beginning for 4 years, even when I didn't really understand it. And it kept me, everybody's like, oh, your plants look good all the time. It's because I give them humidity. I mean,
it's silly. I know it sounds like we're making it up, but honestly, it makes a massive difference. It's that obvious. You look at your plants in one day after putting the machine in, and they're more alert, their colors are better, and they're more importantly, like they say, the strongest trees grow in the biggest winds. The strongest plants hold themselves up. You don't have to do 3 layers of trellis when you have proper VPD. The plant's holding itself up.
Not only that, but their dry back is not as harsh. You come back to your facility in the morning and seeing your plants like hanging and drooping.
Yeah, you're not going to go down to droop like this. You're going to get the half mast.
And they'll give you the half mast, but they won't droop completely, because plants can take a lot of moisture in through the respiratory. They absorb it, and so they don't need to have it in the roots. And then you'll watch my meter, it won't be perfect VPD in there, and somebody will start watering, And then you can totally see the conversion of them forgetting to take it out the air and just going
I
for
want to
the
bring out a valid point. When you have other humidifiers that are vomiting spittle, basically large droplets, that's hitting the plants, weighing them down and running off. When you hit them with vapor, plant tissue above ground is 90 to 95% absorptive. It can absorb that vapor. It can't absorb the huge droplets. It'll take what it can from it, the rest will fall off and make the leaves heavy.
And we're our nanoparticles already, so the mouths on those plants are very small anyway, you know. So we're making it ready to go. It's like fast food.
But it's instant when you leave the room out, but more importantly, it doesn't weigh the plants down. When you have the wrong size particles and droplets, you're actually creating a negative condition.
And you can go into the buildings and see the walls sweating and stuff like that
Right.
as soon as they get into the 78 to 80%. But mine, you can run all the way up to, you know,
You
80.
can lean on the wall and your shirt won't get wet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the same. And your air conditioners, all the lights and stuff like that, they really don't have a problem with that, you know. It's not something that's going to cling on and run a bunch of equipment. I've been running now 5
He
facilities.
said that. Henry said that other thing he tried, that his AC's got ganked up and all kinds of good.
Now you got to watch it out. There is one particular sensor I'll notify everybody of if they're ever going to try VPD. But you know, sometimes in the squirrel cages or the fan housing of your air conditioners, if you ever look at the driver motor that's on that, there'll be like a little cast iron kind of fitting on the back of that drive motor, and inside that there's a little sensor, and it's old technology, and by now they should have already gotten rid of it. I haven't seen it anymore in the last 3 years.
It's warehouse that model's not meant for grow facilities.
Yeah, it's like if you bought a cheaper air conditioner that wasn't necessarily made for the conditions you're fixing to put it in. But I've seen them switch out those motors and have no problem. But that's the only thing that I've ever affected with VPD over the last 5
No, but
facilities
we
that
had
I've
to
done
check
it
the
to.
facility that didn't have it right because their sensors were reading wrong, so they were getting the wrong numbers. They're thinking they're here and they're really there.
Right.
And that's what did
And
it.
they were having the problems with the air conditioners before we ever got there. You know what I mean? It was just calls for change. They realized that there was an issue from the air conditioner guy that he said they could.
They didn't get adequate tonnage for the amount of electricity region
No.
below, so they were always on.
But that's where I've been so valuable
Yeah.
there too, Brennan, is because like they're not running the ACs as much. You know, I've had a couple of guys come over and check my VPD room and be like, "You're growing too hot in every room," you know, and then they hit the VPD room and they're like, "Oh yeah, you got it dialed in now." And I'm like, "No, it's hotter in here than any other room in the facility. You know, 83, 84 degrees, and it
And I
feels
still
like
tell
it's
them that's not hot enough.
75."
I would take it to 85 to 88, depending on the strain.
Yeah.
You know, if you're growing pure sativas, 85 to 88, they'll be happier than hell. If you're indicas, you know, I would take them down a few degrees. And my trick with indicas is later in flowers, I will lower the nighttime temperature and humidity. That's what really makes them.
And there's probably going to be
Finish.
some people on here that says, "Oh yeah, if you're running high humidity the whole entire time, like that's not good." But I do something a little different. You know, I try to minimize all stress in the growing process. And one of the biggest contributors that I've found out of any grow I've been to is the humidity portion. And so where I may start off at 85 here, then when it goes in, you know, from the
Veg.
nursery, and then when it goes into veg, you know, it may drop down to the 80 level. And then when I go into flower, I'll start at 87, and then I'll drop it back 2 more and 2 more. And I may just end up really close, you know, right at the time you're flushing. I may be at 65, guys. And then when it goes in the dry room, it's 60.
Yeah, and it stays.
I'm making my own curve that doesn't have.
Well, it's no shock to the system. None of these drastic ups and downs. It's just a gradual progression towards finishing. And even in the cure, by keeping the room at 60, they cure better. There's more flavor. There's more nose. You crack a bag open from a VPD cure room, it's huge difference. You're like, how the, pardon me, but a lot of people said, how the did you do this?
Yeah, I do. I will agree there. Like I have got recognized more from the smell of my bags than you can possibly imagine. I've had 2 of the testing companies here in Oklahoma. One was Higher Testing, I think it was.
Yes.
He called me. He was like, "Hey,
What the hell are you doing?"
he didn't even know who I was. He just asked for whoever was in charge of the drying, and then I got on the phone with him, and he was like, "Bro, it's always comes in at the perfect moisture content. How are you doing that? What are you doing different than? Because I get different samples, but he says yours are like 0.3, 0.5 off every time we get them." And you know, also when I've been doing this, like I'm not failing mold tests, guys. I've failed tests before, honestly, on the first round. But this is always why you take different, cuts from different places because it's not an accurate representation of the crop. Everybody has mold. You just have to negotiate with it, you know what I mean? And give it better conditions so that it doesn't take place because it's always present. Every time you have a spill, every time there's a leak underneath your floorboard or through your walls, you're hydrating all the stuff that shouldn't be hydrated, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Dirty drains.
that is a different kind of thing, mold coming up from your drains, not
Dirty drains and guys who never clean the AC tray. That's usually where I'm like, God, you get up there, you're like, oh my God, you got to, Anyway, pardon for the tangent, but there's things when you've been around it for a long time, you recognize when you get in a good room and take a deep breath, you pretty much know what's going on. In a room that's with the VPD machines that are the current generation, we made them, that even a seasoned grower who was kind of skeptical of the process, he said right away, this room makes me feel happy. Like he could just tell the
he
plants
said
were
it
moving.
definitely could feel how it would affect the plants because like as soon as he walked in, he took 2 steps and turned around and was like, oh my God. He says, your machine's doing this? He goes, I've never smelt the cannabis so strong in a room because it's kind of like that, the wet dog. You don't smell your dog until he's wet. And then it's like, oh man. Well, that's the same thing with weed, and anybody who would tell me that, oh, you can't put, humidity in your dry room. If you have mold in your weed, it probably wasn't from your dry. Okay. It was definitely created in the room from unclean
Or you didn't
conditions,
stack them, you had them touching all
touching all
Yeah.
that stuff, you know what I mean? But I dry all the time
Hey,
with this, and it's
one, sorry to cut you off there, but one of the things I want to get to there, the same strains before VPD were testing at what, 22, 23, 26?
yeah, when I first come there, the company had been running 22 to 26 about,
Percent
for
THC.
4 years
Yeah.
THC and
Same strains.
they
thought they knew them like clockwork.
and I got to put it in on the last bit of one harvest and it went up to 26. And then the harvest after that, which is where we had the VPD started for half of the time, they jumped up to 30 and 31%. So Trio Farms now has every strain over 30% currently at the moment. And the terps are still there. We still have
Improving.
It's improving,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, with that. But we haven't even got a full
full cycle,
harvest
we're still doing it,
with
yeah.
VPD because it was merely me breaking into letting the SNCs see the value of VPD.
What's that guy? What's that guy? That Steve guy?
He's probably bored of us talking. He's like, man, I didn't call.
Yeah,
for
he
this
looks
much
very
info."
serious. I don't know if we should do something
He's
like
smiling too, so I must have hit
yeah.
it.
I was kind of wondering for a second there.
Well, you
This
put a long show. I'll give you one.
You guys are really good at growing all kinds of stuff. I know, Shane, you got a bunch of cool banana plants.
Yeah,
and
man.
Hey, I can keep my banana plants alive all winter long
In Oklahoma.
in Oklahoma, and I'm going to tell you how really fast. I put my VPD machine in my tent. I make it jungle-like conditions, and I keep the tent from freezing with one heater. Okay, I don't care if it gets 70 degrees in it. That's fine. It's above freezing, and I can put my banana plants, literally stack them up like firewood or lay them against the side of my deal with no dirt, mind you. And as long as I have my machine on, they will pop 6-foot leaves inside my tent all winter long. And then one day I was at work in the summer. I was fixing to plant it, so not any cold worry. I'd already made it through. And one day I was at work and my wife went out there to water her succulents, and she goes, "Oh my God. Everything's dying, Shane. Everything looks so dead." I come home and we had a rainstorm, electrical storm, and it knocked out my VPD machine because I didn't put a daggum surge protector on it. And it went out for 2 days. I nearly killed everything in that room. And that's where I was like, oh my gosh, this is why I can make my stuff look better than most people. I have one little secret.
That's all it takes,
One little secret, and then I look at all the equipment that's designed out there and everything's keeping you from that secret. I'm just blown.
Seriously, when we did a full market analysis and we were looking at things, how they build stuff, we dissected some things. So, well, no, nobody gets thrown under the bus. They already did the whole, but
And you guys know which dehumidifier I'm talking about.
Or the
too.
humidifiers
Or
too.
the humidifiers
God.
too. You know which
Yeah,
ones
they're
I'm
really
talking
common.
about.
And like we know a guy who owns a hydro store nearby, and he's telling us, he goes, please get me something better. And we said, why? He goes, these things don't even make it 1 year. They make it 6 months, 9 months, and they're under warranty. And I'm losing my ass on these things. Please make me something better. We're like, we got you.
I had also somebody tell me, he's like, it's too expensive for what they're made out of, but what they don't realize is that the quality of the materials there, I have searched over 4 years and I have found nothing better to use, or I'd be using it. And we have done more trial and error. I got thousands of investments.
Going deep down the rabbit hole and finding the right components to make the thing and doing a full engineering analysis is something that we did that they didn't do. Once we analyzed their stuff, trust me, they did not go deep down the rabbit hole to figure out what they were making.
And if
You
anything,
have you have really good experience with plumbing. I don't know if you want to mention it or not there, Shane,
Well,
on what you used to do, but
fertigation systems and industrial plumbing loops and all that kind. Yes, Shane's deep in that, and obviously you are, Steve. So that you guys have nerded out and talk about things like this, but.
so I guess I could tell you a little bit about what I used to do in order to get to where I've got to at this point.
We're adding that to our.
Yeah, I'll add some of this
offerings
to my
too. It's
bio.
funny, yeah.
I'm not the average Joe. I've done a lot in my life. I used to be a famous musician, a bluegrass musician, touring around the United States, making my own way from the age of 8 to 21. When I got out of there, I had a choice between maybe a Nashville recording contract and going to college. And I went to college because I love to build things and design things. I was always that kid playing in the trash, making paper airplanes or whatever I could fly. Making stuff, making stuff right. And I would critique it. And then, along came a degree after 8 years of OSU engineering, mechanical engineering. I was a head engineer for Great Plains Gas Compression. I did most of the CNG fueling stations that you see here for Oklahoma, gas lift, vapor recovery, VRUs. I did pulsation studies.
Systems analysis,
Yes.
and then building proper safe materials.
I've turnkey facilities for Burns and McDonald. I was hired one out of 22 engineers to come to the state of Oklahoma and run their gas compression division. I've built full size gas compression facilities to move up, natural gas to oil and Bakken line. I have extensive amount of knowledge in compressor systems and chillers. I've designed 3-story chillers for the back of the units. I've even been the jet fuel filtration engineer for the entire United States. So if you've flown or I've filtered or made your jet fuel,
your jet fuel going through you.
I'm high octane, boy.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that I brought to the industry. And when I came here, everything just started looking like the 1940s.
It was just an analysis, like why didn't they think of this? Why didn't they do that? And you and I were getting discussions, and Steve knows that when I
know what
go
I'm
down a
talking
rabbit
about,
hole,
Steve?
I don't go partially. I
How
go deep.
many people have a dehumidifier and how many people have a humidifier? I bet you could name off like 40 grows just right now if you think about who has a dehumidifier, but just think back to all the times that you've ever seen humidifiers in the growing
or actual
conditions.
adequate for the facility.
We really missed something here, Steve. We really missed it.
yeah, no, I've seen lots of dehus. I haven't seen too many humidifiers. Do you want to talk a little bit more on the curing side? Because that was the thing that kind of intrigued me the most, was
So
the increasing humidity during curing.
I'll start with just a couple intro to it. The existing way of curing, he analyzed over and over, and we would talk about it and ask questions. And he had a concept in his mind, and he did a proof of concept, which is the atmosphere of the river, the flow system in conjunction with.
So we actually have developed some systems that move air, which you'd be interested in, because when I was 12 years old, I actually designed this. It's over aquariums. I wanted to know how to make a river flow in a square aquarium. So basically I would just have 2 flat walls, on each side of the aquarium, and then I'd put 2 false walls in. So there would be a little plenum, and I'd drill a little bunch of little holes in this one, I'd drill a bunch of little holes in this one. And then between the two, I would connect those 2 sides via a pump. So one wall was a suction pump and one was a pressure wall. Now I'm doing the same thing in these facilities in 1,000-square-foot rooms. It just
air.
With air, guys,
Yeah.
because air is the same thing as water. It's just a heck of a lot clearer until you get VPD in there, and then you can see a slight haze.
So once you get the proper system in place and you get the proper circular flow of air, we would take tassels and walk around the room to check if there's any weak spots.
Like a NASA air.
The windsock, like you have a
The
windsock, which
I
tells you
can
which
see
way
the air moving and I could adjust the airflow via a controller and I can adjust the airflow in there. Now, once you get good circulation in there,
the racks and the rows.
the racks and the rows, which I have some pictures of that. I just don't have time to upload those right now, but I do most of my dries off of cattle panels. I like the way I can hang them in there. I'll show you some stuff later if you'll log on to our Instagram at VPD Pros, PROS, which I just kind of made live today. It doesn't have a lot of information on it, but I have a lot of stuff that I've been working on to upload to it, so it should come very quickly in the next week. But what was I talking about?
Well, the analyzing
Oh,
the
yeah.
airflow in the room, as I was
The
saying,
airflow.
you not only did you get the plenums to get the proper circulation and the rotation of the air, we balanced it with the humidifiers, but more importantly, the way the rows are set up so that all the buds are constantly getting a very steady, but not strong stream of
I
air.
actually store wet weed with dry weed, if you will. And the reason why I do this is because anything I take out of that room, I start losing nose on. So I keep it in there. And that way, when I deliver it to the dispensary, it's losing its nose for the first time. It's a lot when you're in the room, but it's like it's not a lot.
You bag fresh, stick it in a cooler and go.
So here's the secret to my dry, okay? And I basically move the air in there just like I told you through wind socks. I could also you could have a room. Here's both sides of the wall, and I have an intake over here on this one, and up above the ceiling, I would put a fan, a duct fan running an 8-inch hose over to the other line, and I would do that like 4 times so I could get even displacement. So I'm sucking from one side and I'm filling from the other.
You're creating a
Then I
vortex,
have
yeah.
some cattle pellets running across there, and I will hang the weed as close as I can together, like 4 on this side and 4 on this side on the same square. 4 on this side, and 4 on this side, 4 on this side, and on the opposite side I would do the same. And I'd hang those all there and just make a wall because everything may be touching right now, but in 5 days it will not. If it's touching now, it will shrink a little bit. So I pack them on there because it helps the speed of my dry. I don't use a dehumidifier. It's completely off in there.
And by just taking the natural airflow, you're getting that soft curve that's slowly drying them. And by slowly curing them, in fact, it's not slow, it's actually fast, but you're not shocking the system. You're not going too far one direction or the other. And a lot of the guys with dehumidifiers, they shock the system, they suck it down way too much. And once you suck it down too much in the beginning, you can't get it back.
When your room gets to 58% moisture, your weed will die, and if you have a moisture content meter. By the way, guys, if you don't know this, here's a little hack for you. Go to Home Depot, you buy a wood moisture content meter, put it on wood, and stick those 2 probes inside the bud. Look at the moisture content because that's what your testing company is doing.
Yeah.
Once you test that, you can track it every day, and I did. I've done every harvest. I've done like 70 to 80 harvests with VPD dries, and every time I check that, we'll get, the first day it'll be like 25, 22% moisture, and then 7 days into it, you'll check it again, and you're like 12.3, you're getting down into 11, 10, and then 10 is where I'll take it sometimes off if you're a machine trimmer. This is that time where the outside is crunchy and the inside's still a little bit dry. That's when I take it out, but I do it very quickly. So everybody bucks and gets ready, and we put it in bags, and they're in just little totes with open to atmosphere inside the room. And then I'll turn on the machines, we'll go in there and we'll dump them, we'll let them do their trimming process, and then we'll bring those back in very, very quickly and then go through a final quality check. Or if you're a hand trimmer, we would stay really close and get them in, out and in as fast as possible because we don't want to lose any terpenes. We're in the conditions there to preserve.
In one full cycle, you could take a plant that was getting 20s, mid-20s, at best THC with like 2% terpenes and get 30% with 3-4% terpenes. And depending on the strains, you can feed regimes things, you can dial it even more. But the more important is the analysis that proves every single time. The better the balance in the room is, the better the plants grow, the better they can handle things. If you have the shock system up, down, all around, whether it's curing or growing, your plants are going to be behind schedule and they're going to be stressed. By giving them what they want, balancing the room out, they grow faster. So a 9-week strain is a 7.5-week strain. I mean, if you're a commercial grower and every room you can cut a week off, you're getting another cycle in there. Every room.
That's another thing
Yeah.
that we're still working on, but under VPD, we have been able to harvest earlier than I ever have at doing anything else. I've had late harvest everywhere else, but when I have a VPD machine in there, guys, I'm getting earlier times, which if you're looking to go to fresh frozen, you can add another week.
Yeah.
So how much savings has you got there? Because I can show, a $12,000 Trio Farm bill going down to,
Electric bill, yeah.
electric bill going down to 4,000.
5,000 and change.
And we're cutting back all the rooms and, air conditioning. So it does add up after a while.
Well, it's the margin. If the operations margin or your cost of goods and everything else, if you can improve your numbers on operations, well, that's all straight profit. And a lot of places just throw it away because they don't study this to the point to dial everything in properly. They think I just have to turn and burn, turn and burn, turn and burn. But if you're turning and burning in the wrong conditions, your extended cycles with lesser quality. And as he said earlier, it kind of flew by. He's getting over 90%, 92%, 93% A and B buds in a facility that was maybe getting 40% before. So he was the king of the cutup, and now he's king of selling packs. Changes everything.
So here is a dry room right here. So you can see the cattle panels up on top of the wall and them all hanging. That's Naeem Gordon, the grower for Yummy Flowers.
Yeah.
So if you'll notice, there's some black tubing here. That's just 8-inch duct that's going across. And they have a plenum that's over here on the side, and it's basically sucking. We have a pre-filter and then a 99% mold spore filter.
Yeah.
So it's basically cleaning the room every time. This
Scrubbing.
room,
Perpetual scrubbing.
Yeah, perpetual scrubbing. So every time it goes through, let's say that your bud's upstream, and it has a spore that comes off of it, and it just goes that way. Once it goes through the filter, it gets caught out, and then we bring new air to this, and then it doesn't happen again. So I put all my test samples at the front end of the dry room at the headwaters because it's basically got the cleanest air, right? And then I let the air travel backwards. I put my humidifier on the side in there somewhere, and I just keep it at 60-60. Remember, it doesn't go past 60. It shuts off. It will not do it. So if you say 60, it's going to hold 60 for infinity, unless you say something different, like plus or minus 5, or you wanted some retention there. But the main thing is just to let the weed cast off by itself. And if you do this and you don't, that upper end, so my level is 60 here for the drying room, and then my weed comes in and it's like 72%, it's going to slowly start tapering off, and then it's going to hit 60 and it's going to go boom, boom,
And
boom,
then stay there.
Beep, done. Your dry's done. Okay, and then you could basically, I don't care what day it is, day 12 will probably be when that happened.
He was calling us and saying it's down another percent today, down another percent today.
Down
He
another
was so
percent
happy.
today.
He's
It
like,
was
"Huh?"
going down 0.5 every single day. It was amazing. And then there's at one point at day 8, you'll watch your weed, or day 11, depends on how good your drying conditions are, but I can actually visually watch them die on the meter. And then my humidifier takes over at that point. It just holds them. And Naeem will tell you, the grower of Yummy Flowers, he goes, bro, we didn't have hardly any shrinkage at all. He goes, I'm used to the weed shrinking incredibly, but he goes, we didn't have no shrinkage. And he says it burns so good. It burns more fruitfully, and you can taste
The flavors,
the
the
flavors
flavors in the nose.
of their, it's,
More importantly, you're not getting that, oh my God.
think of
that was
jerky,
harsh.
guys.
Like
Think
this.
of jerky. You can't taste jerky until you hydrate it a little bit, and then wow, with the right seasonings, it's really a match made in heaven. But before then, when it's dry and crusty, it doesn't smoke that great.
It's like biltong versus jerky, right? Biltong has a little more moisture in it.
That's right. And if you look at the sales for dried jerky versus wet jerky, you might find that it might be the same there too, because my weed will always sell for more. It weighs more than the typical, because I just don't let it go down a certain moisture content. It's not rehydrating. I just stopped it at a particular level.
And that's a key point, because when you rehydrate, you don't get that stuff back. You might get some nose back, but you've lost a lot of terpenes and secondary metabolites by not letting it go naturally.
And I'm going to tell you one other thing. So when I first came to this place, I set up the dry room first at Trio Farms, and he had some weed that was in the back, and we just had no nose. And he asked me, he's like, "What about this?" I said, "I just don't have a nose on it. I don't know what I can do with it." And so I was like, "Well, let's just take all this and let's just put it in the dry room for a couple days and see what happens there." So he put it back in the dry room, and he come back 24 hours later, and he pulled it up. And he was like, "This has a nose on it. I thought you said it doesn't have a nose on it." And I was like, "It didn't." And I smelled it and I could smell it. And then Logan came by,
Mm.
one of the guys that's helping me out, has been with me from the beginning. He came over there and I let him smell it. And I didn't say nothing. He goes, "Man, this smells fresh." And I told him, I was like, "Bro, that is the oldest weed here." And he goes, "Man, it smells good. I'd smoke the crap out of this." And I was like, "No, it's old." And I was like, "Let me show you some like VPD weed,
That's the real nose. Yeah.
And everybody, I've had 30-year growers, 40-year growers come and smell the weed. You tell me one thing you can do other than store with CO2 or some kind of gas to lengthen or preserve,
Right.
other than my method, that would be equal, or I would be willing
I
to say
haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it at all. No.
No, and I trust me, I can never smoke as much as these guys do, but I am a bit of a weed snob, and if it doesn't smell good, I'm not going to touch it. And he said he comes over with a silly grin like Santa Claus's elf. He goes, "Bro, check this one, check this one." Like, motherfucker, I'm not what I'm flexing my
Well,
horn.
I can attest too. Like Shane regularly gets like 4 to 6% terps. Like he's
Yeah, I
putting
mean,
numbers up. He's coming
My
second
highest
place.
is 6.75
and
on terp.
and one of the ones you brought, I can't remember which one because we've tried so many, but one of the ones it absolutely made me completely useless.
He made me go home. He was like,
It's like, we're done.
We're done.
We're done. Like, I'm just gonna go lay down. Like, I can't, this is just beyond like anything. I've never had anything hit me. Like, it felt like I had like a 500 milligram gummy in one friggin' hit. I was like,
But I
this
don't
is
want to sell it
impossible.
off of the THC
Yeah.
and terpenes
It's the
alone.
combination, man.
Really what I'm bringing to the market here is just a grower's assistant. I cannot tell you the times that I've walked into a room and a plant's been like underwatered or something that we missed previously because you couldn't see because of default and you didn't put your wand back there to
Right.
get the right plant. When in a VPD Pro condition, your plant could dry back all the way and still make it, guys. I've had facilities where the air conditioner has gone out. You want to know who's the fix for that? If your air conditioner goes out and your crop goes,
Turn up the
you just turn up the humidity and they can pretty much grow the same as they do in a greenhouse, which is what, guys, 105
We have
degrees. We've been in
a
there
guy I
before.
know in Pahrump, Nevada, who sent me a picture with the temperature was 107 and his plants were alive.
And that's because, God made everything the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Outdoors has a way of fixing itself. I have some customers that's like, "Oh, I have those high leaves too," but they'll take me to a Ponics box that is in an outdoor condition with a bunch of holes in it, and atmosphere can leak in. So every time you open the door, you're letting humidity in that wasn't in there before. So these plants obviously look better. But when you are in a closed environment, like 3 or 4 rooms inside of one facility, if you get a reputable moisture content meter and you walk in there, you're going to be absolutely shocked. 28%, and I'm running at 78 on the first part of flower, guys, when your plants need it the most.
I did a facility in Colorado, and the master grower, he called himself that. I didn't call him that. And he said, "What do you think?" And I said, I can't believe you have a job." And the guy, the owner of the place is like, "Why do you say that?" I said, "What do you get per plant? What do you get per light?" And he goes, "We get 1.25 pounds per light." I'm like, that's like 1970 type results. And I said, "What's your meter say? What's this say?" He was so afraid in his head that his grow room was at 73 degrees. And I checked what's your humidity? He looked at me with a blank stare. He didn't even know how to measure it. And it was 19%. I go, that's why your plants are like this.
I mean, you're pretty much taking all of the moisture that they're sucking out, and then you're causing extreme drybacks because you've seen how fast that soil dries.
And if they overfeed them at that, then you get all the leaf burn because they
Yep.
can't process.
Then they need more water, and you're
Right.
giving them more nutrients,
becomes
and
this
it just becomes this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
To where me, you know, I walk in a room, it could be underwatered, but they still look happy, and I can feed them, and then they look happier. So if you want to know, if you're a grower out there and you're having constant troubles and you cannot figure out what it is, you've got, like, let's say purple stem. I'm not saying I'm the cure for purple stem at the moment. I'm just telling you that every facility that I have perfect VPD on turns
have those
into
problems.
Kermit the Green Frog stems.
Yeah.
I have pictures and videos out the wazoo on this, and some of these places had purple a lot when I first got there.
Henry said that to us. He goes, dude, since you guys came here, like it's everything's green again. He's like, well,
They changed to a darker color green. They don't have that, you know, turquoisey lime, you know, yellowish look. They will
That
literally
unnatural
turn
color.
green in 48 hours. That's why I challenge anybody in the state of Oklahoma. I've got permission. You can come in and check all of our stuff. You can look. I'm just growing with Athena. I mean, not the grower there. I'm the consultant.
Right.
They grow with what they want. I'm basically out to prove that you can grow any style you want. If you're halfway decent at growing
we can
anything,
improve.
I can take you that extra 15 to 25% in most cases. And I say that lightly because I'm being conservative right now. But if you look at that, the electricity bill and a few other things, just
Yeah, but not just the margin. I'm talking about actual crop yield and crop quality. I mean, one guy went from 40% ABs to 93% ABs.
it was you know, it was 40, I think it was 46% is
You
what
doubled
he was.
it.
46%, and then he told me that 92 was his big, so 92% ABs and everything else was C's and shake guys. I have pictures on my phone of these big bags of A and B's and very little C's, because even the C's underneath, I know that they usually don't bulk up because they don't have a lot of sunlight, and that's most of the problem, but for some reason they just get bigger. I don't know how it is, but there's just more transpiration going on in a room with VPD.
What strains are you growing right now, either at home or at work or wherever?
So I've got three strains that I've kept since Essential Flowers. Last time I was on, I guess, Growcast, we were talking about Essential Flowers, and I had those. So I've got Cookie Mac, I've got lemon cookies, I've got I'm trying to bring back Eagle, which is another good one. That was the one that I got. Me and Phil got
with Phil over
Phil
there.
over at Yummy Flowers. We got
No, at
6.57. That one at Trio, we've got Grape Ape, we've got garlic butter, we've got cherry banana chomp, biscotti sundae. Let me tell you that it cures in my cure room like a Cheeto puff. If I had to imagine a Cartman Cheeto puff, that's what it smells like. It smells like the biggest cheese you've ever smelt. And then we've got lemon cherry gelato is another good one that we're using there. And then Gush Mints. Yummy Flowers is putting into production right now the lemon cookies, Cookie Mac and Collision Kush that they were famous for back when I first started in cannabis. And a lot of other things. They have Black Mountain Kush and a few others that were really high on testing. And then I just consulted a little bit with Hash RX when they went through a room, you know, and we're going to get them set up with some VPD here pretty soon. Been working a lot with those guys, and they've been coming to my facilities and working out deals with the facilities because my hash production's up, bro.
But we started this just proof of concept and then doing R&D and then showing people. We didn't advertise it, just word of mouth was enough to keep us busy as hell. And now that the word's getting out, it's kind of exponential.
I pretty much have a weekend booked every weekend
to fix somebody or
to fix somebody or put
them
a
up.
VPD in this weekend. We're going to be doing, I won't disclose the location yet, but they have, how many rooms was it? Like 5 or 6?
5 or 6. Well,
5 or 6
one
rooms.
was being modded, so they weren't sure they were doing, but they had 5. But they're triple decker bus, so they have
three levels.
Yeah,
on each one, and they've been trying to get perfect VPD for a while, and the guys really tried. They've spent a lot of money in units, and it's just not getting them there. And we told them the fix is just 2 units per room, one on each end. And we have a way of circulating that airflow like we already talked about, that flowing river and a thing, but we're just reversing the direction on that and making the conditions where they mix better, you know, let heat rise where it will, because heat will rise. And humidity will be taken away to all the levels as a part of that. We just influx the top to the bottom.
The analysis, a lot of people go wrong is that they measure the floor, right? Well, if you have a triple decker bus, you have so much more volume. But somebody will come in and say, well, you have this many square feet, you need this system and this system. I'm like, no, that's for a single level. You know, if you have to have the right stuff for the volume and space you're working in. If you're working in one level, but you have 16-foot ceilings, you have to calculate that volume for any air handling you're going to do, whether it's filtering, whether it's air conditioning, whether it's dehumidification, humidification. So one of the bigger problems we run into is people under horsepower what they need because they just measured the floor. You know, sorry to jump in like that, but that really is super important. If you're growing in a tent and it's an 8-foot tent or a 7-foot tent, that'll make a difference.
It will. There's little microclimates in there that
Yeah.
can be held, but for any home growers, I would challenge you to try something for me to make your tent flow like a river, if you will, Slim Shady style. So let's just talk about a 10 by 10, you know, up on top of the 10 by 10, you would usually have 4 places there where you can apply ducting inside. So you would go over to one corner of your tent and you would put some kind of filter and then a fan on top of that. Then you'd run the tube out of your 10 by 10 and you'd run it to the farthest corner. Okay. And then you're just rotating there. So you're sucking from this corner and you're spitting out at the opposite corner. Now, once you've started that flow, all the air that comes out this outlet has to come back and return. So every plant in between is going to be
Getting a breeze.
And so take all those fans, throw them all out, guys. I'm literally taking fans out of grow rooms. If you need more volume of airflow, you know, you can look on Vivor and they have like these $46, $50 fans, you know what I mean? And that are 8-inch. Remember, go larger on the size so that you can put more volume of air in there.
CFM, yeah.
The CFM is really where it needs to be, and you can always cut it back because all of these fans are controlled variable speed.
Right.
And once you do that, it's amazing. I'm doing 2 tents right now, 10 by 10s, and I've got one on negative pressure and one on positive pressure. And I'm bringing the filtered air from my negative pressure, and I'm bringing it to the farthest end on my positive pressure tent. And then I have no fan on the exit valve that's inside of the tent, and it's pulling it to the opposite corner of the other. And so I'm just, you know, it's like hooking a series and battery. I'm going the farthest side of this tent to the farthest side of this tent, the shortest side of this tent to the shortest side of that tent. And when I've created that flow, I have one fan that runs 2 tents, and it's like a NASA wind tunnel in there. And I can put one VPD machine and it runs both tents. And then, you know, when you put VPD in your plants, it's almost simulating like you're raising them above the actual level.
Because it's vapor, not water droplets, it does not hurt the fans. It just keeps circulating.
Yeah, it won't hurt nothing. You will never have any buildup on the stuff. The only thing I would recommend is that
Filter
you
the
would
water going into the machine.
yeah,
Make sure
and also I'd put your humidifier a little bit away from your I put it up in the headwaters really of where your filter is, the opposite of where your filter is, so that it has time to disperse before it goes onto your filter. Over long periods of time, filters have a way of clogging themselves, even though it's microparticles. But as long as you're, you know, more than 2 or 3 foot away from it, it's not going to really be an issue at all. So,
I got a question in chat. How long do you cure your buds for? How do you dry your stuff?
all right, so I'll run you through a little method. So we cut down 72%, 73% moisture in the room. I hang them up and I leave them and I continually test them until I get down to about the 11.5 to 10.5 area. Then I'll bring the team in. We'll do all the bucking. We'll clip, you know, we just had little 7s hung on the little, you know,
the grid,
grid, if you will. And now I'm just bucking those off and I put those into a turkey bag and I just leave the turkey bag open, and I may put like 3 or 4 rounds of bags inside the stand bins.
Yeah.
And here's an example of that right now. So you can hear my dry room running. And see, they're just totes with open bags. I don't try to seal them. Why would I? When you seal an environment, you're contaminating all your stuff. If you've ever used a C-Volt you probably put one molded bud in there and it took over the whole thing. And that's because these plants are still perspiring, you know what I mean? They're losing their
They're
moisture.
off-gassing, and if you seal them,
Seal it off, they
you're-
don't have a chance to burp. So, you know, I'll walk in there and I'll give them the Slim Shady shuffle. Just shake the bag a little bit, kind of get some of the buds around, and I'll reach in the bag and I'll grab like mid-weight inside the bag, you know, and I'll
Circulate
give that
them around.
bud out and I'll test it. And we're getting in the 10 area now, so I give it a couple more days. So we're at like day 8, maybe 9. That's when, if you're, you know, you've got mechanical trimmers, I like to take my bud early before it's fully cured because
You want to waste it.
I think it's just such a waste, you know, all your good stuff goes right to the shake, guys. I mean, if you use a tumbler and you've ever just sit there and watched it pour snow, that's the important stuff. This is why processors come and buy your shake, guys, because your shake holds more trichomes than your bud
Did
does.
if you cured them or dried them. Yeah.
So it becomes valuable at that point. You know what I'm saying? So don't do that. Take your bud down early, bucket, and get it in the bags. And remember, once you've taken it off the stem, you've just cut its moisture source. So I don't, you know, I hear a lot of people, oh, they're not cracking yet. Oh, I don't hear that. It's a meter. I'm not wrong. I know when to pull my buds down
it's
and when
not
not.
theory or buddy says. It's fact, science.
It's facts, it's
Yeah.
science.
Right.
You know, fight with me about it. We just we put them in the bud, we get the reading, and you wait until the right time.
Yeah.
And when they're at that 10 mark, guys, I'm
Trim it
already trimming them
Trim it,
through the
trim,
thing,
yeah.
and I run them through the trimmer. All the leaves will fall off, and you'll notice that there's hardly any keef.
Right.
That's the important part here. We have shake, but with no keef. Now I've done bud so many times without VPD, and I just watch it snow, and you have to clean off all the machines.
Yeah.
With our method, you go in there, it bashes off all the leaves and stuff, and then once you get the leaves up, off, you bring them back into the room, and you can check each one and just take a few things off. Now at that point, I'll bring the bags back in just like I showed you there, open top, but I like to keep them inside of a plastic tote, and you can go buy any tote. It can be at Lowe's, Walmart, it can be a gray one.
You name it, whatever.
It doesn't matter. I don't want it to seal off. I just want you to lay the bags in
So they can stand up and
yeah, stand up with open tops, and I just lay the container down on top of it and click it. And the reason why is because if you ever was to walk inside your dry room and you turn your lights on, it wouldn't expose your bud to light. And that barometric pressure has a way of burping itself, guys. So don't ever try to close off the bag. When the moisture gets down to about that 9.385 mark, that's the first time you'll see me ever take a bag, and I'll just kind of roll it, or I'll just fold it over itself, but I never tie it, close it off. I can leave my bags open like what's his name? I won't say his name on here, but he came by the other day and he was like, "Why are you leaving those bags open? All your smell's gonna go away, bro." And then he pulled it up and was like, "Oh my gosh." That's the whole point. Is the smell's on the weed. It's not leaving it. You know what I'm saying? So
if you keep the conditions
if you
right.
can keep the conditions right. So now I'll have them stacked in my totes. I'll put the lid on and I'll sit there and I'll wait until the rest of my cure. They never leave that tote again. When I bring them back in from the trim room, they're separated by A's and B's together. Then I'll have C's and I'll have shake. Then I'll have my package tag, of course, on the wall. And then I'll have 2 totes below it. One's got A's and B's in it, and one's got C's and shake. The A's and B's are full in their tote, and the C's and shake are barely even taking up 1/4 of the container. So I keep it like that, and I store it until a customer buys. Then I open the top for the first time, and I with gloves, and I pack that order, and I send that out, and that's the first time it leaves the room, other than the trimming process. But I want you to know, guys, I'm very quick with that. It's like a 1-day turnover for me. I get all hands on deck because I do not want it to be out.
Yeah, we don't want to.
I do not want to lose my nose.
Don't want to get the temperature up too high, too dry, whatever. You don't want to shock it that much. You want to get it.
And if you want to build a Slim Shady dry room at home, just make sure whatever you build it in is got to be insulated. That's the key point here, because relative humidity is the amount of moisture that the air can handle at each temperature.
Right.
And if that temperature changes, you're going to get unwavering, kind of stuff. Now, if you put our little mini humidifier in your room and it has a place on it where you can hook a dehumidifier to it, 110, plug in, that will control the humidity so perfect you won't even recognize hardly when you're opening the doors and stuff.
Yeah.
Your system doesn't work unless the doors are closed, and neither does the vacuum the airflow through your tent. As soon as you open the tent, it's gonna dun
All
dun dun
gas,
dun
yeah.
dun dun. All your VPDs pouring out. You know,
Yeah.
it looks like Darth Vader is coming out. You know, or whatever. The whole point is once you seal it up, then you can feel the airflow. But as long as that door is open, this pulling air from one side of the room
Right.
to the other, it will not
The
work
thing
until
is
it's a
that,
closed
just
system.
so you understand, if it's warmer inside your tent in the room, it'll actually like vacuum the bad air in, or vice versa. It'll suck everything out of that tent in seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you could do this in your closet. It's very, very simplistic, you know, you could build a little tiny insulated kind of shack to put in outside in your garage. It really doesn't matter. You could use a small air conditioner. You just need to keep the room as close as to 60 as you can. As you've seen by my graph, even the professionals have a hard time with it.
And it's 100-something degrees outside. It's hard to keep any room to sit.
You know, you got 3-4 inches of spray foam on there and it's still not working. And so you do the best you can with the temperature, but the most important thing to take away from this is you can dry your flower at 60%. What are we creating here? If you want to know what the atmosphere feels like, have you ever been in an old cellar that once used to hold vegetables and canned goods, you know? Like the Amish build these things like down in the ground, root cellars.
Yep.
And when you walk into those, the first thing you're going to feel is the humidity at 60 because it's naturally that way coming out of the ground. The concrete, I used to be in concrete. Concrete perspires like crazy, you know, it has tons of holes through it. So you can see all this fluctuation.
Gases.
The off gassing there. So just make your dry room with the 60% humidity. You can try other humidifiers out there, but I promise you that they're going to
They won't be as accurate as
they were not going to be as accurate, but I can't tell you the amount of cells that I've already lost due to me taking longer than I expected to get parts in. And then he was like, you know, well, I'll just go to the store and I'll just buy a simple humidifier, you know, and he buys one and I told him how to rig it up so that he could get more levels to what we're talking about. And he did that and he was so blown away. He told me, I'm sorry, bro, but I'm going out. I'm fixing to spend thousands a day and it's nothing personal. But he says, in the 2 weeks that I've watched that humidifier help out the plants, he says, I feel like I've lost all of the value of all the others because they are so far behind.
Yep.
And so, you
And
know,
with the other devices, they did try other devices, and you got upset and like, dude, that's a temporary delay because the real thing makes that much of a difference. When you have the right equipment that's accurate, it changes everything.
and our systems are just going to last longer in general.
Yeah, they're built better.
You also had some mushroom customers using it. Do you want to talk about that for a minute before
That
we
is a whole new thing that I would really like to get into.
Whether they're psychedelic or,
it don't matter.
gourmet.
You're gonna see me probably here this next year get into a lot of culinary, honing in on my skills, but you talking about the most important industry for VPD. I can literally tell your mushrooms when to go. It's great. You don't have to wait on it. You just make all the conditions right, and when you're ready, you push up the VPD, and as a result, you get fruit. Remember, it's when you're growing mushrooms, you know, you have a sealed
But you know
environment.
when to harvest them too, because they actually grow faster when they have the right conditions, and you have to look under to make sure they're not going to spore on you too soon.
Right. So you have this closed environment with mycelium, and when you open that to the air, if your room is right, your environment inside your microclimate will be right. It has to be because there's moisture on the outside, and what I tell you about relative humidity, it demands the moisture from wherever it can get it. And if it's in the room, it's going to pull it through that, you know, filter pad or whatever kind of device you have, and you're going to see that taking place inside, you know, if it's not open to atmosphere. I'm sure a lot of clean people out there.
I mean, just, there's certain parts of the country where it's like perfect room weather, and that's why they have so many native and, but if you want to grow them anywhere else, one of the things that always got me off, like you guys would get specific mushrooms and they never come out right. I go, well, your conditions are wrong.
I mean, besides being clean, conditions are always the second factor.
Temperature and humidity and they don't really need much light, but something.
Depends on what you're growing.
Right. But if you just study where it comes from, and it says it comes from an area where it's, 65 during the day and 58 at night. Well, that's what you give them.
That's right, because we may be in cannabis, guys. You see it on my hat, but if you want to know where I'm really going to shine in is going to be food, because it's no different, guys. I can get, if you look at the math already, I've already told you of 25% more yields with cannabis. What do you think I can do with food? It ain't going to be any different there. You could grow carnivorous plants, the
Venus flytraps.
Venus flytraps. There is not a plant in the world.
The orchids. Oh my God.
You have no idea what actual orchids look like under VPD.
When you get the colors pop, they look like they're some Technicolor magic. That
is the next industry I'm going into is just orchids. There's room for us in every business out there that consists
if it
of plants.
grows. They're going to figure out a way to make it grow better.
And all we got to do is research the best conditions around the world to grow that in, and we can dial
do
that
the homework, study what the variables are. And just part of the tangent, going back to cannabis, but I see a lot of guys ruin really good indicas because they grow them in the same room with their sativas, and they don't have the same diet, they don't have the same climate, the same needs. So you can't make everybody happy. So
actually, we can, because VPD makes both of those happy.
You can make them happy, but they want slightly different conditions. And if you do get strains that grow well together, separate your rooms or separate your tents. Put strains that grow well together, like say there's sativa dominant hybrids. They're going to take the same diet, and these indicas are going to take their own diet, which they usually eat more, but they also usually need more intense light. But they also need bigger temperature changes day to night towards the end of their cycle. All these things can be dialed in more accurately with what we do. You're not guessing, you're not within 8 or 12%, you're within 1% of where you want the stuff to be.
So let me go through some things to get in contact with us. So give them our email if you would.
And you can just sales@vpdpro.co, not .com, .co.
.co.
Wait, why have an extra letter? You don't need it.
And then if you want to find us on Instagram, it's VPD Pros. Nope, just VPD Pro.
Right. And again, we have been very quietly word of mouth, kicking butt and taking names, and now we're letting the world know we exist.
I did a couple of postings, and it turned out to be overwhelming for me, and it made me really stressed out, and I wasn't able to get stuff together quick enough for it. But this time I am ready to go, and you can come visit these facilities. If you're in Oklahoma, I challenge you to give me a call. If you don't like what I'm doing and you have something to say against it, please. I believe showing's better than anything I could tell you.
Right.
When you walk into the room, don't care if you have 100 years of growing experience, it's something new that you haven't felt because you haven't been to that place or climate in the world. Another place you can reach me at, contact me directly at slim_Shaney 2022. That's SLIM_Shaney, SHANEY 2022, which is when I got into weed. You can see my letter of recommendation from Coca-Cola as I built their facility for.
Let's just say that you'll have plenty of social proof and affirmations of what we do works, and that's the more important part of it. I am invisible in most things I do. People know me from other things I've done that have been in the games for a long time. The best point of what this one is that this is something that we get right, but more importantly, it works for everyone. The right conditions will work for everyone. You're growing bananas, you're growing cannabis, you're growing mushrooms. All right, huge banana tree. That's the one that survived and made it through.
Humidity saves my bananas every year, and I can grow them in Oklahoma. I have yet to get them fruit yet, but it's because they need more stuff than what I'm used to giving plants. So I'm learning with them, if you will.
But anyway, Steve, is there anything else you need from us, or we want to, or not?
Oh, there we go. Look at there.
Okay, cool. There he is.
There's my stuff. Oh man.
Yeah, that's the wee banana tree. Those guys were little offshoots, and it just exploded.
Yeah, they like my stuff this year. I've been giving them more fish. I planted them underneath there. Right now, you can pop those things out of the ground like an onion, throw them in my 10 by 10, keep the humidifier on. Hey, there's my garden right down there below it, if you can see. Yep, that's where I grow all the food. We grow indoor
Is that a big shroom she has there,
veggies.
Nikki Hole?
That's a big, yeah, we get mushrooms all over our property. I got
Morel?
20 acres, morels, yeah. Grow salads and
Mm.
my whole deal for getting into cannabis was to learn how to grow
Cleaner,
my own.
healthier, whatever.
Yeah, and nothing's grown nearly as clean as cannabis anymore, you know, because cannabis is regulated so high compared to food, you know.
Mm.
We things fell for arsenic. You know, I asked a guy the other day, he was having infused fruits, and I was like, why don't you get infused bananas? I'd love that. And he goes, absolutely no way. He says, I've tried every organic place in the United States, and all of them has failed for pesticides. I can't run anything through it. The fruit will fail, all of it.
Whose spine is that?
Huh?
There's a picture of a spine there. That was like, what the?
Oh, that was my daughter's spine. Yep, she has that's VPD
Scoliosis?
flower right there. Yeah, she has scoliosis, but it's been corrected through surgery now.
Awesome.
And we got a lot of other things going to the market too. I've got the Slim Shady washer there that I started building, and you won't have to clean anything at your grows anymore, guys. I've got the perfect fix. If you can fit it in there, it will wash it to perfect condition.
It'll look like it just came out of the packaging.
Yeah, see right there, I'm doing fermented extracts. You know, I'm taking marijuana leaves, I'm using brown sugar, and something that John Newcomb taught me how to do. And I've been blown away by it. What better thing to feed cannabis than itself? It contains all of
What it needs.
what it needs.
Yeah.
And so I make every specific nutrient I need for every type of plant that I grow. And same thing with the bananas. I'm just eating bananas, saving the pills, and doing fermented extracts with those. And you know, a couple weeks, they're done, guys. And you talking about some healthy plants, you know, it's pretty easy to done. I've done hugel culture mounds there with instruction from John Newcomb. There's the hugel culture. So I took a tree that I didn't want off our property and had flowers on it and thorns actually, and I didn't want nothing to do with it. But you know, when you render that stuff down, that's good flower nutrients. I put some hay over top of it, inoculated some of the hay so we get some mushrooms, and then we covered that back up with dirt, and that's what I've been growing my cannabis in this year. You know, it really doesn't take all the good effects, doesn't take, you know, place till next year with everything breaking down, but we went ahead and grew some really nice food off of it this year.
Yeah, and keep in mind that doing that while doing everything else you do. So it's a lot, definitely.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Naeem with
There's
this,
Naeem with Yummy Flowers.
Yeah.
That's my buddy right there. If it wasn't for him, that garden wouldn't exist. He does everything with me, and we make food together, you know. But go up to that Foes video right there. That Foes video was taken under VPD Bud at Territory Cannabis, where I was the general manager at. And I went ahead and just made this video for Foes was having a competition, and I'd never seen the flowers. John told me, he's like, all right, he said, there's something special about these rooms. And that air conditioner behind it was definitely something special. That was we had 2 of those per room, so we could pretty much do anything we wanted there. But pretty much the main thing that I stuck with was just keep good VPD, keep your plants watered, you know, automated systems and VPD and the proper light placement is like absolutely key.
Yeah, that's one of the things we one of the facilities that we went to help him out, and I cracked up and he was like, "What's wrong?" I go, "Do you have a light meter?" He goes, "Yeah, we got a new one."
Oh yeah,
Excellent.
my dry room's on this one too, Steve.
Yeah.
There's John Newcomb right there
Yeah.
grabbing all those tops. Look at that.
Yeah, nice collection.
Look how the colors, they're pink, purple.
Yeah.
Look at that's Gold
bright.
Cash Gold.
Yeah.
But this is my dry room. See that? So all that air is pushed at the back of the room, and it moves in the same direction I'm actually going right there. And then it comes to the front, goes through a filtered wall, and then
Circles back
to the top, and we do it all over again. But you know, the consistency of buds there is undeniable.
Anyway, that's all good stuff.
But come hit me up, come ask me questions, you guys. I'm willing to answer anybody's questions. I'm willing to give any anything out just based on the fact of VPD is really the unsung hero in the case of most of grower problems, and I truly believe that I'm going to help so many people out there that's been fighting with problems that they think the plants are presenting, you know. And everybody out there has always says they have a fix. There's a pill or a thing for everybody, but we're talking about humidity here. We are talking about the most important thing other than air conditioning here that has just been misused. If air conditioning and heating is a thing, and that's two things, then you're going to have humidity and dehumidification. But take out the humidity because most people don't have that.
I don't know if you're gonna show the accident when they took you down.
No, no, no. I still got the scar on that.
Okay.
Them dogs ran me wild, but they had a lot of exercise. I can guarantee
Steve
you
dogs
that.
star of the show, and then here's your big guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my marijuana dogs. They protect the crop.
Yeah.
Come to my house at your own risk. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Rigby is
he has
120
become
pounds.
a big dude. He actually stink-eyed me last year, what, 2 weeks ago. I'm like, you know me, dude. What's going on here? It's like,
Getting too close to plants.
I cannot. Shane told me no.
I miss your dogs. In fact, I miss them so much. You'll probably see my new dogs that I had to get to replace them when they left. They really were a joy to handle. There's old Draco.
He looks cute, but we know him.
Right.
He's a big.
Hey, go up to the top really fast, if you will, and click that letter of recommendation, if you will.
Keep going way
Keep
up.
going way up to the top.
Right
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, that right there. Now that's the letter of recommendation from Coke for my engineering skill. But if you go to the right of that, I have a walkthrough. So that right there is just previous before that last video of the foes video you saw. And so I just literally walked through the room here. Go to the next one. There is inside the rooms, you know, VPD machines are to the left and of the room and to the right down on the end. Keep going to the next one. There's my drying room and the methods that I was telling you about. And I'm pulling air from behind me to in front of me through those, but I have built them with long ways with the air. It doesn't matter. It's taking all of the moisture out from there, cleaning it out, then filtering it.
Filtering
Yeah,
in, so
out.
the air coming back through is always
And if
clean.
you do it in this method, guys, I promise you, when you're going through with a meter, you're going to read the same moisture content meter. Doesn't matter whether it's small or large, it will all
Anywhere in
end
the
the same. And look at those buds. Those are VPD buds. They don't really shrink. They need to be trimmed right there, but I was pretty happy about them nevertheless.
Look really serious, man.
I know, right? I had to look cool for the camera.
Okay.
There's my beautiful wife and one of my best friends, Brian Gonzalez. Go to the next one. There's one of the rooms there. Go one more there. That's the veg room that we had.
Yeah, that's those beautiful buds.
If you go to the very, keep going. One more. Here you go right here. So this is our mother's room that was in there. I kept that room at 76 to 78% humidity levels. Room temperature is about 80.
Taking clones like crazy.
And yeah, so like we're picking clones, but you see all of their leaves are super, super high. There's my the cloner shelf over there, real small cloner shelf. John had those things over there just stacked. There's my tanks, the smart tanks that will eventually come out with here pretty soon. Grower's best friend. There's my coffee. And then as soon as I open up this room, you'll see the smoke clear. It's because my VPD machine just went off when I walked in the room. And then look at that.
Alert, alert. That's what you want to see.
That's what you want to see. Look at that dark green color,
but the
guys.
lush color, the attentive leaves, high five in the room, I call that. That's what you're looking for.
And to be honest with you, like, you know, that color green, we've done everything from organics. The stuff you're seeing right there was truly the best organic. John at Territory Cannabis was growing with fermented bananas, fermented watermelon, fermented pumpkin, fermented peaches. We were feeding peaches to our marijuana. Look at how happy that thing was. And that's one reason why they're so green in there. But then I come to understand once I, you know, started setting up a few other facilities. I don't necessarily change their growing method. I'm just going to make you 15 to 20% better. And if you're willing to go further, I'll go even more, because there's lots of things more you can do.
Oh man.
But you know, it doesn't matter what you feed them. They kind of always look like that if they got the right nutrients. And I think
The right conditions.
the right conditions.
You got to have the lighting, the nutrients, but the environmental conditions with the right food and right light source or intensity levels. That's
It blows
the
my
trifecta.
mind, the nutrient people out there. It's like, we tested it, done this, and this, but what was your humidity? How
Right.
far was your lights?
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole bunch of things that go in there, because some of the complaints that I have when I get to a new grow and I put VPD in is they're like,
They think
oh my gosh, I don't know how to feed them. Like, they're eating faster.
They're
Yeah,
growing
of course,
faster.
they're growing faster.
Yeah.
If it's eating more, it's going to grow faster. And it's the uptake of nutrients.
What did he
is
say?
insane.
You have to take it out because I'm not used to. I don't want to change my feed regime. I'm like, well, dude,
Yeah.
do you want better results or not? I mean, and when they finally give in, they're like, wow, dude.
And look, even though that they needed to be defold, look at that.
Yeah.
And they don't need to be defold. You know how when you're eating pickles, any pickle fans out there, you buy a pickle and you crunch it, but it doesn't have the crunch. It's just kind of a rubbery, chewy deal. And then you go buy one of those cold cure pickles or whatever, and it goes crunch. It's a Clausen crisp.
Yeah.
That's how these leaves break when you're in there defoliating and stuff. Like, they break. Like, you can hear them snap.
Yeah.
Whereas other rooms, you could grab them and you could just be yanking them, and the bud would be coming with you. You just couldn't get it to break. And so defol has always been, everybody's always told me that the defol is very easy in a VPD environment. Look at that.
Gonna have to go my thumbnails back. I used to be the angry crab.
Look at those colors,
Yeah.
man. And we really didn't change anything. To be honest with you, I've run rooms at 78% moisture the absolute entire time. I feel like if you try to recreate outside, because that's the way I started doing when I first learned VPD, I was taking meters outside and trying to recreate what was happening in the morning and the evening.
The problem is you're studying the environment where you are, not the environment where they come from.
But everybody's had that garden, where that storm front comes in, and your plants know it's coming because they can feel the VPD.
The pressure changes, sure.
Right before it gets there. And then they're like, oh, here it comes. And then it rains, and then they're uptaking the nutrients. And then for
Turn down, up.
24 to 48 hours after that rain, you see the most incredible growth you've ever seen, unlike anything that's happened up until that rain. And yes, that credit goes to the water there, but there's also water being evaporated. They're eating it, and there's
airflow, there's wind,
they're eating it from the air, they're eating it from the soil, and the fact is like, I've tried all these different, I've tried everything, from 50% and every level up in between during a flower cycle. And when I get to the 78 range, it's like, boom. And why would you change that? Why would you slow that down? Well, it gets like higher humidity at nighttime, and after midday, it goes down here, and we need to make it go down so that there's a different change. When it's perfect VPD, guys, there's just no stopping the plant.
If you're going any terrain that's equatorial or close to it, I mean, the temperature day and night doesn't change drastically in those regions. It stays warm and humid. Yeah.
Or you'll have somebody that comes in and says, oh, I don't want too much moisture in my grow but
fear.
It's fear, because if you put a moisture outside, you realize it gets PM issues every night, like 99%, all the way down to hottest part of the day, and it gets in the 20% area. So they're already receiving drastic measures, and you see what the high heat, low humidity does, and you've seen what low heat, high humidity does. They both have negative connotations, but what about right in the middle?
Balance.
A balance.
Well, that was a long one, but now you know what it means. But more importantly, Steve's awake, but he has been quiet. He's been, I'm looking at the guy. He's like got a dab rig and all kinds of stuff going on there. He's been kind of behaving today. I wonder what's up with that. What do you think?
I've smoked twice on the show so far.
I thought those were bathroom breaks, but those were just those were level-headed breaks, not too.
Oh no, one of those was a bathroom break. The other one was a dab rig break because I forgot the dab rig in the other room.
You the French Masons used to call them mise à niveau. I mean, put me back to level.
We just want to answer any questions anybody
Yeah.
may have from this point on. You can contact me via social media. I'm also just my name is Shane Keener. Everybody calls me Slim Shaney. And you guys, you'll be able to grow weed more professional than you ever have. And I think that once the home growers get my home grower unit,
Yeah,
which is
369.
69.
Yeah.
That one unit right there is going to change your life because it's going to make everything so much more lax on you. It's going to take away 25 to 30% of all the work that you normally do. I know it's hard to explain, but you'll see it when it happens because there's less defol to do. You're not trying to catch the leaves before they die.
Well,
They
if
just
you-
don't
if-
die.
If you're
You pull them off
if you're
when you want.
scrogging your plants or you're netting them, you're going to want to open them and spread around, pluck off fan leaves that are blocking bud sites.
Yeah,
But,
but
you know,
you
that's
should be
normal
doing that
stuff.
anyway.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
this is new tech that just hasn't been seen, and anybody that's ever tried to make it, they got really close. And I can tell you, I've seen great success at levels of 50 and 60% moisture. But there's
Yeah.
just there's another level there
Oh,
that
man.
you're not getting.
Totally another level.
So
Awesome.
give me a
Well,
call.
thanks
Questions.
again for coming on. And how do people find you guys again?
So you can find me on my
You can find them
my
at Slim
Instagram,
Shaney or
slim_Shaney 2022
Or
or
VPD
VPD
Pros.
Pros with an S because we couldn't get the Pro. Thanks
Yeah.
whoever did that to us.
and the website and other stuff will be up soon because we're working on it. But we've been doing word of mouth, and then we just figured it's time to take it out the mainstream because people need to see this.
And the people that we're helping right now has had more success rate than they've ever had in 4 years. And some of them told me they weren't making money until 4 months ago when I got there with my VPD machine.
Literally.
So literally, that's just happened. We've had some meetings over that.
Mhm.
And so it's very, very important that we get this technology out there and we stop using some of the tech that is keeping us from it. So give us a call. We'll hook you on that VPD. Thank you for having us on, Steve.
Sales at vpdpro.co.
Yep.
And
And
yeah,
Aquaponics Masterclass.
nice. Steve,
Yeah, if you guys are looking for a new aquaponics masterclass, I've created a over 1,000 slide aquaponics course. It's all just about everything from the cannabis course, plus a whole bunch of other cool stuff about how to grow over 100 different types of plants in aquaponics, many different, radically different types of plants, all different types of root setups, many different types of design, basically all types of design aspects, and very large, 3 different large scale designs that all have been commercially viable for different types of, half acre, or larger facilities as well. So check it out. We also have over on, there'll be a link in the description. There's also 2 different payment methods now. So you can either buy it up front or you can pay monthly in 4 payments as well if you don't want to spend so much up front. Right now we have the first third of the classes uploaded. I'll be uploading the next 300 slides here in a few days. I just got to finish editing them and getting them all put together and on there. Everything's recorded. It just took a little longer than intended with the move across the country and stuff.
Know how you feel.
Just getting it edited. And you can see here, this is kind of the way it's set up. It's all in different sections.
nice one.
We cover each of the different aspects of growing, equipment, climate control, setup, mineralization, chemistry. We have
out there. We need to help with that one.
so feel free to check that out over at aquaponicmasterclass.com or the link in the description of whatever your platform you're listening to this on. Sorry for the delay there. We had a couple of months off. Was kind of dealing with some family stuff and getting some other stuff taken care of, but now we're back into the normal swing of things. We'll be back again next week with Kevin McKernan. He has a bunch of cool new papers on aspergillus testing in Michigan, other microbial testing, mycotoxins, and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff that he's been working on the last couple months. So always really fun to have Kevin on. And big thank you again to Brendan and Shane for coming on this evening. Thanks a lot. Always fun to talk to you guys.
Thanks for having us.
And yeah, we'll see you guys again next week, the same normal time.
Heck yeah. Thank you,
Take
sir.
it easy.
What do you